That's the event, my people. January 24th, 2026, Trump 1 year later, a red tie gala. You need to get your tickets. They will be on sale next week. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. That's the Master Blends, 3 there from Oliva. It's what I grabbed, and fine work I'm doing. I'm Tony Katz. The show is Tony Katz Today. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Signed by the President of the United States. His name is Donald Trump. You've seen pictures. We will soon see what is in the Epstein Files. Great. When? According to Pam Bondi, in 30 days' time. Let's see if she actually gets it done, because so far I am outrageously unimpressed with Pam Bondi, and it kills me because I thought she was going to be up to the task. Tony Katz Today. Good to be with you, Pam Bondi. Kash Patel. This is not super impressive work. I'm not saying it's the worst work I've ever seen. I'm saying I expected more. I expected more information. I expected more clarity. I expected more value. Not getting it. Absolutely not getting it. But this about Epstein, this is only part of today's story. Today is all about, my gosh, there's a lot of corruption. I mean, you already thought the members of Congress were corrupt. Well, holy hell. What's come out today is just nutty. Nutty. Let me start with this story right here about a representative in Congress who I know absolutely nothing about. Her name is Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick. I know nothing about the representative from Florida. It's interesting that on her on her website, it's very hard to even read what district she represents. Hold on. I think that's the 20th district in Florida. She's kind of like got Central Florida, and then there's this weird tentacle that gets West Palm Beach. If you want to see a gerrymandered district, check this out. The story goes as follows. You've got this representative. She has been indicted by a grand jury in Miami. Well, she must have done something. She's facing 53 years in prison. Well, she must have really done something. She had been under investigation from the House Ethics Committee since December of 2023. Okay, what did she do, Tony? Well, allegedly stole $5 million from FEMA. I mean, these people are shameless. According to Pam Bondi, this woman and her brother conspired to steal an overpayment of $5 million in FEMA funds. Their family has a healthcare company. And what was that healthcare company there to do? Help people get their COVID shots. It's at this moment I would like to remind you of your blood pressure and that you should stay calm. Because you know as well as I do, anything associated with your COVID shot was 10,000% going to be a scam. You knew it before I said any words. I feel bad for being the guy who's possibly going to put you in a hospital. So breathe. Breathe. There you go. We're going to get through this together. A healthcare company, they get paid to ensure that people are getting their COVID shots. I assume that means they're boosters as well. Boosters. That's adorable. They get overpaid by the tune of $5 million. It's at this moment, in addition to being discussed with every member of Congress, because while she's innocent until proven guilty, I know she's guilty. Innocent until proven guilty in the court of law, in the court of public opinion, oh, she did it. After you go through that, you immediately go through, how do these people know how to set up these businesses that don't actually do anything and make millions? They have the ability to steal millions. And I never once in my life had that kind of business, that deal didn't come to me. How do these people all know how to do this? It is kind of amazing, isn't it? They all know how to get in on the grift. They all know how to get their share of the government pie, which is to say your cash. They all know. What tipped everybody off, if you want to understand, is it the credulousness? Is that the right word? Here's what she did next. Credulous, ready to believe, especially on site or uncertain evidence. I don't know if that's the right word. I'll come up with a better word. Here's what she did next. She then, in 2021, as part of her campaign in running for Congress, she loaned herself money. How did she do this? They routed the funds through multiple accounts to disguise the source and then used a substantial portion of the misappropriated funds as candidate contributions. Straw donors. Now, if you're starting to say, hey, it's got a whiff, it's got a little bit of a scent of the George Soros, doesn't it? Yes. And George Soros was thrown out of the House of Representatives before ever being found guilty of anything. So I'm pretty sure that one could say that her career could be very well coming to an end. Before it even begins, she could and should clearly be getting a "Bye, Felicia," gone. She loaned herself the money. I believe, all in all, she loaned the campaign $6 million. $6 million. And then, according to the FEC filings, paid herself back 2.5. Kids, do you know what it means to launder money? How you take the dirty money and you move it through a series of enterprises and it comes out as clean money. So yeah, it was 6 million. It got back 2.5. Maybe she'll get back more, but it may not be dollar for dollar, but at least this money would be untraceable. She did this with a straight face, or at least as alleged, with a straight face. She took the money and then ran for Congress. I would love, one time in my life, one time, for all the ego I have and all the names I get called, I would love to have, I believe the word is chutzpah. Some people might call it moxie. Some people might call it the testicular fortitude. However you describe it, oh damn. But I'm just talking about having the gall. I'm not talking about the stealing. I have no interest in that. Story's nuts. And this is just one of 3 stories. You got Stacy Plaskett, who was texting with pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, and wait till you hear Jasmine Crockett coming to her defense. It is so good. And then you've got the push from Republicans like Nancy Mace to censure Cory Mills. Wait till you hear it. The allegations are super duper bad. And this isn't even the biggest story, because I started with Pam Bondi. I started with my disappointment in Pam Bondi. Well, allow me to explain how deep that disappointment goes when we get into the conversation regarding the allegations and the indictment of James Comey, which may all just blow up because incompetence is showing up in a lot of ways. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. That was weird. Welcome back, Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Guys, good to be here. Good to be with you. This has nothing to do with the show. And you should know that I broadcast out of Indianapolis, Indiana, right? That's home sweet home. And we have a big thing here regarding redistricting, as you well know. And I am not a fan of the lieutenant governor, Micah Beckwith. I think that the lieutenant governor has failed miserably in showing himself as a leader. I think there's a lot of incompetence. I think when you buy yourself a $90,000 truck on the taxpayer's dime, I think it shows a lot of hatred for people. I think that the objective of his election was the idea of being a check and balance to the old guard, and he is the old guard. He is. And so I saw this from Rod, that you disagree with my take on the lieutenant governor. He's not a politician. That's what we want. He doesn't play by party rules, and that's why the party power players are trying to destroy him. They did the same to Curtis Hill. Curtis Hill is a former attorney general in Indiana. Rod, I appreciate the comment, but I just want to say for the record, I think you're wrong. He is absolutely a politician. I think he is grossly a politician. I think he has failed in every way. And I think that he is hiding behind very, very good people and making this claim that somehow he's doing good work. No, he's not doing good work. And when you are attacking the state Senate for not engaging redistricting, the Senate that you preside over as lieutenant governor, and you're not working to try and persuade people, rather to get clicks, you're not doing any good. So that's not Micah hate, West Dave. That is a factual understanding of the failing that he has provided. I would argue that Governor Braun has failed in a magnificent way. Poorly managed every way around on a bunch of subjects. I am not pleased. That said, the Democratic Party in Indiana is so much worse. We're in a good spot. It's just unbelievably true. I'm glad you guys are here. I do disagree with you. Back to the show, shall we?
Bottom line became, how do I explain it enough, and how do I make the argument enough that people can arrive at their own conclusions about this? But in the last 2 or 3 years, the behavior of some is very, very, very dangerous.
That's Randi Weingarten. You want to talk about dangerous? She heads up the American Federation of Teachers, and nobody's been more dangerous to our children than Randi Weingarten, who worked tirelessly to keep schools closed during COVID and believes that teachers and unions should be in charge and not parents, when it should be parents. Well, Tony, what about the kids? They're kids. They don't get to be in charge of anything. What's wrong with everybody? A 13-year-old gets to be in charge? Do you know how embarrassing it is to hear someone say that out loud? They're children. They should be seen and not heard. Oh, that's wrong to say? Okay. Must be children who believe that. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. That's where you find it all. Producer Landon, finger on the dump button, because when you're talking about Randi Weingarten, you're not talking about somebody who has a great moral compass. So you never know. She is having a conversation about what? The fascists. Dun, dun, dun.
The erasure of the civil rights movement and of equal opportunity, the making words diversity and inclusion toxic, when there was just a civil rights survey that said 88% of people in America believe in diversity, the attempt to balkanize, to undermine pluralism, and the attempt to stop teachers from in schools all across America, not just pre-K through 12, but in higher education, from teaching critical thinking and problem solving.
You don't teach critical thinking and problem solving. Let me say it again. You do not teach critical thinking and problem solving. That's not what you do. You teach bigotry. That's what DEI is. Diversity is good. DEI is bad. Do you see the difference? Racism is bad. Anti-racism is also bad because it is actually racism. I don't give a good holy damn what Ibram Kendi said. He lies. Millions and millions and millions of dollars to set up an anti-racism foundation and group over there. What was it, Boston College or Boston University? Only to find out they didn't do anything. The people who worked there thought it was abusive, and Ibram Kendi got stupid rich. That's what happened. Diversity, solid, but our strength is not our diversity. That's a lie. Our strength is a belief in the Constitution and that lawbreakers should be dealt with, and people who attack our country and try and undermine the Constitution should be dealt with such severity that they simply stop. Stop what, Tony? I'll leave that for others. Diversity is our strength. It's a very, very ignorant thing to say. What was that from, what's his name? From Orwell? Was it War is Peace and all those kinds of things that's eluding me at the moment. Diversity is not our strength. Strength is our strength. A belief in the Constitution is our strength. Understanding that the American way, the American ideal is better is our strength. Thinking that men can be women and allowing them into this, that, and the other, and saying that if you don't allow boys to play girl sports, you're leading to their death and you should be the one who loses your job, that's not a strength. Randy Weingarten shouldn't be allowed near children, in my view. What a nonsense and ugly position she is taking here. This is not the story I wanted to get into. I wanted to get into this James Comey story. I started by saying that I'm not happy with Pam Bondi. I think President Trump has put together a very good cabinet. I think Sean Duffy, Transportation Secretary, has been outstanding. Outstanding. I think that Pete Hegseth has been very, very good. I think he had some stumbles. I think he has one or two issues. But the idea that this is going to be a fighting force, this is going to be a force that is lethal, and lethality matters, and standards matter, and to do away with anything that Randy Weingarten might be in favor of, I'm with, I'm down, I'm there. I think Marco Rubio is that good. I think Doug Burgum, Interior, has been very good. I can't tell you that I think Howard Lutnick has been great, but I can't tell you that Howard Lutnick at Commerce has done anything that could make me actually upset. Bessent, I want to be better, but I think that he's the adult in the room, and I'm very glad he's there. Very glad. Even people like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., I didn't want RFK. I said so right here. I didn't want that guy, and I didn't want him anywhere near a position of power. The idea that he is in the secession chain at all, it's like, it's a, what is that, lone survivor or whatever it is, with the Kiefer Sullivan thing? Kiefer Sutherland. Try and say that on radio. I didn't want that. But is there any question that the Maha movement is unbelievably successful and doing things that people like? 10,000%. 10,000%. There are people in this cabinet I like quite a bit. Pam Bondi is a failure. She has not shown herself to be strong. Remember, she was the pick after Matt Gaetz went up in smoke, and I was happy with that. I thought that Pam Bondi was going to be far superior in every single way. No. She has come across as silly. She has come across as weak. Where are a whole series of investigations? Where are a whole series of charges? No. The latest has to do with James Comey. The indictment against James Comey is that he absolutely, as FBI director, leaked things to the press through subordinates and others to get information out when he said under oath that he did not. If you ask me, based on his own words, I think James Comey is guilty. Indictment comes from a grand jury, except in the rush to get things done before the filing deadline via the statute of limitations, and the installation of this inexperienced prosecutor by the name of Lindsay Halligan, who I hold no grudge against at all. The grand jury never saw the final version of the indictment. And how is it possible that an indictment could take place if the grand jury didn't see the final version? And what the Comey lawyers are asking is, throw this out. You got to throw this out there. If the grand jury never saw the final version of the indictment, never voted on a final version of an indictment, well, then there's no indictment. Some will argue that that might be seen as technicality, that the indictment in and of itself did not change from its discussion and voting on by the grand jury to any level of quote-unquote final presentation. However, you don't get to make mistakes like that. And you have to get fired for that. I don't know if I fire Lindsay Halligan specifically. I fire Pam Bondi. It's enough. She's not doing the job. Now, I want to make a separate argument here that's going to upset a great number of people. I don't think Kash Patel is either, the FBI director. The deep state's the problem. The swamp's the problem. These people who are engaged in fraud against America and engaged in abusing America and trying to usurp the authority of Trump in the first term and a whole host of things. What were they doing with Joe Biden? And nothing comes from it. Nothing. I think Trump's cabinet has been mostly unbelievably good picks who have done an unbelievably good job. Pam Bondi's not it. She's not it. I think the change has to be made. And if this Comey indictment goes up in smoke, definitely. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. I am going to get yelled at. Oh, yeah, and I don't care. I do not care. What is going on here? Okay. Well, that's that. No, it is not possible for Marco Rubio to just do all the things. No. Not in the slightest. All right. Where do I have? So we've got a White House press briefing at 1:00. There's been the funeral for Vice President Dick Cheney. I didn't bring that to you. And of course, Trump was not there. Why would anybody think that Donald Trump would be at Dick Cheney's funeral? Well, Joe Biden was there. Kamala Harris was there. They called him Darth Vader, and then they showed up at the funeral. I don't know what to do with that. Former Vice President Dan Quayle was there, of course. Former Vice President Mike Pence was there. And of course, George Bush was in attendance. Dick Cheney being his vice president and all. So that's going on. I'm not bringing that to you right there. I will bring you Crockett and Plaskett, which is like Crockett and Tubbs, but nowhere near as cool. I will bring you that story in just a bit. Ay, ay, ay. All right, let me get to it, guys, and we will go forward from there. Appreciate it. Oh, I didn't put the comments on. Sorry. Boom. There we go. Oh, but it's covering that. Is there a way to move that? Yeah, I'm going to have to change that. All right, you know what I'll do? I'd want to see the comments. So that's the one thing we have left to change. There we go. We'll go back to the comments. We'll make them tall. No, we'll do it that way. There. That's good. That's good. I like that right there. That'll stay. Okay, I think I've got Plaskett over here. This is gold. Just absolute gold. Coming back when, Producer Landon? Guess we're coming back to the show. You know what that means? Haha, you have to listen to Hakeem Jeffries. So do I. I mean, it's not like I can avoid it.
Have you spoken to Stacy Plaskett after this controversy emerged?
I have not.
Can you confirm if there was a deal last night to sink the resolution against Congressman Plaskett in exchange for not bringing a censured resolution?
We've made clear repeatedly we're not going to unilaterally disarm.
So you're saying there was no deal?
I'm saying we will not unilaterally disarm. Not now, not ever.
Mr. Leader, why wouldn't you speak to Stacy Plaskett?
I said I haven't spoken to her since the censured resolution went down.
No, about this text controversy.
I have not spoken to her since the censured.
Yes, you have not spoken to Stacy Plaskett. You have not spoken to Stacy Plaskett. We get it. You refuse to talk to her. You haven't engaged with her. You won't answer the press about the fact that she was texting with pedophile and child sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. Your party. Trump this and Trump that with Jeffrey Epstein with no proof, but we have text messages of Stacy Plaskett, the delegate from the U.S. Virgin Islands, texting with Jeffrey Epstein, and you haven't had a word with her? I will say again, anybody who wants to believe that the political left cares about children, come on now. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Good to be here. When Donald Trump was president, first term, there's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wearing all white, crying by a fence at the border. The fence was a mile or two away from the border, but that's neither here nor there. Oh, the kids in cages and how terrible it is. When Joe Biden is president and there are kids in cages, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was nowhere to be found. She never went down to the border, no photo ops. What do I take from this? She only sees children in cages as an opportunity for her politics. She doesn't care what happens to black and brown children coming across the border. Let me say it again. My take, based on the actions of Representative Ocasio-Cortez, is that she does not care about black or brown children or their future. You can tell her I said so. Don't get angry with me. I'm only noticing what it is you did and what it is you didn't do, Representative Ocasio-Cortez. That's your problem. It's not my problem for noticing. I notice that Hakeem Jeffries is a fraud when he tells you what happened with Jeffrey Epstein was terrible and look what Trump did. He isn't upset with what he is in his party and with what they did with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, when you listen to Stacy Plaskett try and explain this away, well, I mean, it is something.
Was a constituent. He was a resident of the Virgin Islands, lived there, I guess, more than half of the year because he was registered there. I had received donations from him after the last investigation came out, which was after this texting. I gave any donations that I previously received from him to women's organizations and did not have any contact with him. But like many constituents, individuals get your phone number. They text you about issues. They speak with you. I have spoken with him about issues that are relevant, things that are going on in the Virgin Islands and elsewhere around the country.
You knew what he was, and you texted with him anyway. That's what happened. It's as clear as day. You did this. Stacy Plaskett should have been censured. Now, we will get more into that. We have already discussed it, and seemingly the Republicans did not go forward with the censure on Plaskett like they did not go forward with the censure on Ilhan Omar because they were trying to protect Congressman Cory Mills. And so when you hear Hakeem Jeffries say we will not unilaterally disarm, understand he sees everything as a war. He doesn't care what his people did. He only cares how he can hurt somebody else. Understand what you are dealing with. Understand it. This brings us to everybody's absolute favorite. Time now for another rousing rendition of Jasmine Crockett's Masterpiece Theater. Today we listen to the representative from Texas, the voice of the Democratic Party, explain that Jasmine Crockett, no, she's Jasmine Crockett, that Stacy Plaskett did absolutely nothing wrong in speaking with Jeffrey Epstein. Really, it's all the fault of Donald Trump, don't you know? Can't do two things at once. That's just crazy. This is Crockett.
Maybe you don't think she should be removed from her committees, but why do so many Democrats seem unwilling to say it's inappropriate to be texting with a registered sex offender about what you're going to ask a witness at a congressional hearing?
So I'm not going to necessarily say that that's the case. Now, this is somebody that was a former prosecutor. Now, I haven't sat down and talked about all the specifics of why Stacy was doing what she was doing. I know that when she got up and she spoke, she talked about the fact that this is one of her constituents. At the end of the day, what I know of prosecutors is that they are typically talking to co-defendants. They are typically talking to the people that have the best information. And what you had was you had the former attorney for the president that was sitting there. And honestly, we knew, or she knew, or at least Jeffrey Epstein presented that he was very cozy with the president. He had more information, registered sex offender or not. The bigger question is, why is it that the president was so cozy with a registered sex offender even after he ultimately ended up with some of his convictions? And seemingly, he had absolutely been on the plane with him. We know about the birthday card. The bigger question is, why is the president of the United States not the one that is in the hot seat for his relationship, instead of us saying, oh, you know what, we're going to take her off of her committee because he decided to text her. Stacy didn't initiate that chain. Jeffrey initiated that chain, and she took the information.
Sometimes I get emails from someone claiming to be a Nigerian prince. Doesn't mean I respond. I got a text message saying that I've got a traffic ticket in Florida, and if I don't pay this weird address, they're going to take away my driving privileges. And then I respond, go blank your mother. You want to see my texts? I want to see all the texts between Stacy and Jeffrey, not just these. Does it matter if he initiated? You're texting with somebody you know to be disgusting. You know to be a problem. It is a weak defense being given by Jasmine Crockett. But what could one expect? Well, one could expect that when she goes to the floor of the House and makes the claim of, look at all these people who took money from Jeffrey Epstein, that she would get the list right. One could expect that she wouldn't be making that up. However, Caitlin Collins CNN says, take a look at this.
Who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio.
So that is Jasmine Crockett, who started by saying, let's talk about the people who took money from someone named Jeffrey Epstein. Let's hear it again.
Today, or in recent days, yesterday, and you talked about Republicans taking money from a Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what you said.
Here it comes.
Who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio.
Now, she says from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein. Now, we all know as rational people, she's saying that all these people took money from Jeffrey Epstein, the one that we are talking about. Turns out in the case of Lee Zeldin, the EPA director, he didn't take money from Jeffrey Epstein. He took money from a Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, different guy.
You mentioned Lee Zeldin there. He's now a cabinet secretary. He responded and said it was actually Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a doctor that doesn't have any relation to the convicted sex trafficker. Unfortunate for that doctor, but that is who donated to a prior campaign of his. Do you want to correct the record on the people that?
Listen, I never.
Now, it is clear what she said, and it's clear what she intimated. What she said was, listen to all the other people who took money from one Jeffrey Epstein. Now she's about to try and explain herself away. Listen.
Do you want to correct the record on the people that?
Listen, I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein. Just so that people understand, when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen, because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC. So my team, what they did is they Googled, and that is specifically why I said a Jeffrey Epstein, unlike Republicans.
You did not say a Jeffrey Epstein. You said one Jeffrey Epstein. It was Caitlin Collins who said a Jeffrey Epstein. And more importantly, my God, do you hate everybody around you if you think they're going to believe that or buy into that or should buy into that? You unbelievable, despicable fraud. Please, Democrats, more Jasmine Crockett, please. Who believes this? Who buys into this? She goes on to CNN and makes this claim. Oh, I was just talking about anybody named Jeffrey Epstein. You see, it just proves what the Republicans were doing.
I at least don't go out and just tell lies. Because it was not the same one, that's fine. But when Lee Zeldin had something to say, all he had to say was it was a Jeffrey Epstein. He admitted that he did receive donations from a Jeffrey Epstein, so at least I wasn't trying to mislead people. Now,
what? You know, I do this show while I smoke a cigar. It's clear I have to start drinking bourbon. Every time she talks, we have to start drinking. Do you want to hear that again? Or would that be too frustrating? You know what? Some of you are driving. I apologize. I should have warned you. I should have been better. Be like, hey, hands on 10 and 2. But I told you it was Jasmine Crockett. You knew it was going to be something. Do you want to hear that again? Here you go. This is the convoluted logic.
Because it was not the same one, that's fine. But when Lee Zeldin had something to say, all he had to say was it was a Jeffrey Epstein. He admitted that he did receive donations from a Jeffrey Epstein, so at least I wasn't trying to mislead people.
The only thing you were trying to do was mislead people. That was it. That was the totality of what you did. Oh, good Lord. Just a reminder, none of these people seem to care about children being sex trafficked. I mean, for all the joking, that's the horror show here. A real horror show. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. Hold on a second, guys. This just in. Wait, where is it? You are pathetic. STFU. Maggie, I just shared with you what it is that Jasmine Crockett said and the problem therein and the clear lie that she's telling. She tried to mislead everybody. I think that's the right thing to do, expose that kind of stuff, because we don't want that. We're dealing with a serious, serious issue here of sex trafficking, of lies, of cover-ups, of who knew what, when, where, why, and how, and we want these people exposed. We want these people to go to jail. Making a claim that someone got money that they didn't get, that's disgusting. You don't actually agree with that, do you, Maggie? Wait, do you, Maggie? Because that is not something that one should agree with. That's, if you think it's okay to mislead and take a guy who is a sex trafficker and say, how do we use this for our political win and not how do we go after the people who abuse children, then maybe it's not me who's pathetic. Thanks for listening, Maggie. I really do appreciate it. I'm glad you're there. What? What's it? Is it something I said? Good Lord. It's sometimes hard to believe that we're all the same species. How could you not hear it? Of course she lied. Of course she lied. Of course she was trying to engage guilt by association. No question. There's also no question that Jeffrey Epstein gave a lot of money in a lot of ways. He was very connected. Doesn't mean that any of these people are guilty. It's a non-argument. It's a non-argument. But they don't care. They think that they're valuable. And it's I'll just leave it be. I will just leave it be. We have got a lot more to get into. Let me see what else is going on. So we've got the White House briefing at 1:00 between Epstein Files being signed, that legislation by President Trump, the Saudi Arabia deal. There is a report that the administration is floating a peace deal with Ukraine to give up land. And so what makes that interesting is that, of course, was the original argument. When Trump met with Putin in Anchorage and then met with the world leaders at the White House, this clearly was going to be you're going to have to give up some part of the Donbass, Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, those eastern areas to the east of the river there, connecting with Crimea. That's the only way we're going to get this done. And then Putin didn't live up to any end of his part of the deal. And then they had the ridiculous drone crossover there into Poland that put Poland on the ready, which therefore put NATO on the ready. And Trump said, well, if you're not going to be respectful, well, then you know what? Why can't Ukraine just take back all of its land? And then that led to the sales, further sales of goods, of hardware to NATO, and the allowing for some level of NATO forces, possibility of using more longer strike missile capability and capacity. Well, that hasn't 100% worked. They were trying to get Russia to fold from that. Now it's like, listen, I'll go back to this way. If I can get a deal, I can get a deal. I just need this to be done with. The point is, it's not going to be done with. The president has to accept the fact that there are rational people you can make deals with, where you have leverage. The problem is the leverage isn't there yet. So therefore, you're trying to use the leverage on Ukraine, but it doesn't stop anything. Even if Putin signs something 6 months later, he can violate it. It doesn't matter. A rethink might be necessary here. And the question is, what is there to rethink? And what's to rethink is, who are we actually dealing with in this fight? Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping? I will get to that. I will bring that up. We've got a lot of show to get to. I'm glad you guys are here. Can't thank you enough for being here.
fought for Western civilization. And Scott, you know, the president announced tonight he signed this bill. We showed how many times he's signed other bills on camera. Why don't you think he signed this one in front of reporters?
Well, look, I mean, I think that he just wants to get this over with at this point. I mean, it's been a little bit of a whiplash on, you know, where they've been on it. And so he says, OK, fine, vote for it. All the Republicans vote for it. And now it's going to come out. I don't know that you need any fanfare around it. I did read his statement just before we came on, and his position has been quite clear, and I agree with him. The hoax here is that Democrats have tried to make this a story about Trump and Epstein.
But is it a story about Trump and Epstein? What say you, Scott Jennings?
But the reality is it may turn up being a story about Democrats and Epstein.
It's a greater story than that. And the fact that we have to keep going over it is something else. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. I wanted the files released and they're now released. But the conversation from Caitlin Collins is, why didn't he sign it on camera? That's not news. That's not a thing. That part doesn't matter. It is, what can we find? What can we do? What can we notice or say or bring up? See, this is proof of what. When the story comes out, will these people be in favor of throwing anyone in jail? That's the question. And I haven't seen any proof that they will be. None at all. By the way, I was on Newsmax yesterday, and I was discussing the fact that the data has shown, and we've discussed it here, that the trans fad is falling away. Yes, there are people who clinically have what the American Psychiatric Association refers to as gender dysphoria. But it's very clear that claiming to be trans was all about attention. It was all about social contagion, and it is falling away. And there's this city councilor who's a man who claims to be a woman who was charged with indecent exposure. And the lawyers are saying, well, it can't be indecent exposure because men are not prosecuted for going topless. So he claims to be a woman, engages in indecent exposure, and now it's actually a man. All a game. All of it. This is Tony Katz today. All a game. All of it. So here's what's going on. We have got the White House briefing that is scheduled to take place. That's supposed to start at 1 o'clock, but you guys know as well as I do, that does not happen. It simply does not happen on time. We know this. So here is what we will do. The show is in commercial break. We will be in commercial break. I will relight my cigar. Yes, I grabbed the Master Blends 3. I have a bunch of them. So I grabbed it. It's good for the show. It's not the only one I smoke. Someone asked, would I take a cigar sponsor for the show? The answer is, of course. But we'll take the quick break, and then we'll bring it back. And when the press briefing starts, we'll join it. We've got a lot more to get to, including, oh my gosh, the Texas judge and the dissent regarding the maps. It's flat out brutal. Flat out brutal. Brutal? Well, yeah, it is word of the day. Pee-wee told me so. So kick back, relax, smoke them if you got them, and we'll come back to the show in just a few minutes. Keep it here, guys. Welcome back. Tony Katz today. Guys, good to be here. Good to be with you. Boom. There are your comments right there. Glad you're here. So we've got a live look right there. That's going to be the White House press briefing. Who's that? I don't know. I do not know. What do we think about the red and black? We happy with that combination? No? Yes? No? You know what? Not the fashion police, not here to judge. So we will get to that, the press briefing. That is coming up. There's going to be a tremendous amount, I think, from Karoline Leavitt between, as I said, the deal with Saudi Arabia, between where the economy is, which we were up 600 plus points in the market, and it is now down 216. My conversation with Dr. Matt Will, economist at the University of Indianapolis, that will take place in the next hour. You're going to want to listen to that. I will have the video of that up soon enough there on the YouTube channel. Make sure you are subscribed there on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Tony Katz, if you're not already. And then, yes, indeed, tickets go on sale, I think, next week, January 24th. Trump, 1 year later, a red tie gala. I think I am putting together the first red tie event in the history of the country. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm going to say that I am. So I am. And that is going to be amazing. Sponsorships are now available. It means you get to set up, you get to show off your things to hundreds and hundreds of people who are going to be in attendance. It's going to be my biggest show. It's going to be crazed. So good. Red carpet, the food. It's not a sit down. It is just heavily passed. The hors d'oeuvres, the bars will be flowing, multiple bourbons to try. This is going to be downtown Indianapolis at the Hyatt Regency. It's going to be so good. So good. Oh my gosh. Cannot wait. Cannot wait. Trump, 1 year later, a red tie gala. Yeah, it's going to be nuts. And I may be in a tie. Also, someone asked, bow tie, regular tie? Tie is tie, boo-boo kitten. I'm not here to judge. Not in the slightest. So we might actually have an on-time press briefing. Well, that's something. All right, so I'm keeping an eye on that. But she's not out yet. But, man, it's looking like it. Usually they turn on the side video screens for her when she's come out. But it is looking like they may start like very soon, which is super nice. Anyway, we've got a radio show to do. Let's go do it. The Dow is down 167 as I speak right now. But the Dow was up over 600 at one point today. Yeah, I don't know what to make of it. You know, they said here the jobs numbers that are out, the jobs numbers from when? From September. Does anybody care about September job numbers? Well, it shows unemployment at 4.4%. Oh, so it went up. This is bad for Trump. Yeah, but you had more jobs in September than were expected, 119,000 instead of the 50,000 estimate. Oh, wait, that's good for Trump. We can't talk about that. Can't we just talk about this economy honestly? There's tremendous investment being talked about. The price of things are still too high. And Lord only knows if the Fed is going to lower interest rates, which right now, I don't think they're going to. The pressure is going to be massive too, but I don't think anything shows up in a way, the numbers show up in a way that's going to let them. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. 833-468-8669. 833 got Tony. That's how you get to be a part of the program. All these things are late because of the shutdown. The Schumer shutdown, the Democrat shutdown, the nonsense, dear Lord, why don't we have professionals in the Senate shutdown? I don't care how you want to say it. And so these numbers are coming out, but a September number now is insignificant. Is that what caused everything to to jump up so great earlier today in the markets? Not as much as the AI world basically saying, no, this isn't a fad, guys. Everything's fine. And NVIDIA coming out and saying, listen, our chips are selling well and everything's going right. This is the right place to invest. Because if it wasn't for AI investing, you would not have that much of a market, if really anything. The AI investing has been absolutely through the roof. And it is driving so much of what it is that we're seeing. So we'll get into that with Dr. Matt Will, economist at the University of Indianapolis, in the next hour, waiting on the White House press briefing and taking a look at what is 3 Chinese nationals, speaking of NVIDIA, charged with smuggling NVIDIA and Hewlett-Packard chips to China. Okay. If you remember carefully, NVIDIA wanted to sell chips to China. And the United States said, yeah, that's a no. This is a national security concern. You can't be doing that. We can't allow these AI chips to be in the hands of the enemy. China is the enemy. That's it. That's all we have to say about that. We've already seen China smuggling in viruses to the United States, quite literally mailing them to universities, and then here come these scientists, all Chinese nationals, saying, oh, we're going to work on these viruses. We know what you're doing. The DOJ says they were involved in a scheme to ship the chips to China. 3 Chinese nationals charged with this. 1 American were involved in the scheme to ship them to third-party countries, Thailand and Malaysia, and then ship them to China. They set up shell companies to purchase the products. Now, 2 things have to happen. Number 1, Thailand and Malaysia have to be made an example of. Well, Tony, did they really do anything wrong? Did they know? I'm sorry. I said they have to be made an example of. Any nation involved with being some level of conduit, knowingly or unknowingly, to China for our chips or anything else that we would consider a national security issue, they need to get a tariff of 17,000%, and we should declare war. Tony, getting a little rough there. Oh, kitten, you have no idea what I really want to do to them. I'm being nice. So while I'm being nice, Malaysia and Thailand, why not say thank you? It must be understood that China cannot get away with this. China must be dealt with severity. And for this clear movement from the Communist Party, we must now, President Trump, I'm speaking to you, Mr. President, don't forget you work for me. I don't work for you. You work for me. I voted for you 3 times. You owe me a little something. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to take everybody in the United States who is a Chinese national on a student visa, and you're going to say, goodbye. You don't get to be here anymore. You're going to tell these universities to suck it up. We have no jobs programs for universities. Maybe we've got too many universities, and maybe only the strongest will survive. They don't need a government program to survive, which is what the president actually advocated for when he was speaking to Laura Ingraham. He was wrong. Now you want to take our chips? No. We send all the students back. You figure out how to educate them. You figure out how to deal with your stagflation. You figure out how to get them a job. We only hope that your entire system implodes. We're either going to protect the United States or we're not. We're either going to protect our intellectual property or we are not. We're either going to say to the world, you don't get to screw with us, or we are not. Oh, don't worry, they'll still buy our goods and we'll still buy their goods, and it'll be this very weird, odd, ugly relationship that you have to have because I live in the real world. But the real world also says that you can't have any of our chips. And if you're trying to steal our chips through other sources, which we blame on you for the thing happening no matter what, you think these people are just trying to sell chips into China because the Communist Party didn't know? Xi Jinping, I had no idea this was happening. I was watching Winnie the Pooh reruns. I said Winnie the Pooh on purpose. You're still guilty. We declare you guilty, and therefore you now suffer. Every student gets sent back. Can you imagine what happens when it happens the second time? I already, on the subject of COVID, would not pay back any of the loans we owe them. You steal our technology, you gave us COVID, and you didn't tell anybody that COVID was out there. You bought all the personal protective equipment, then sold it back to the world. No, we already paid you. We don't owe you any money. Well, you want to fight about it? We dare you to. Oh, it's going to be a cyber war? Do you think we're incapable? I mean, we might all be in the dark ages, but we'll get out of it faster. I don't believe in kowtowing to these people. I don't believe in being afraid of these people. I believe in getting rough and tumble and directly up all in their face when they act like damn fools. They tried to steal our chips. The chips they know they can't have. And no one should think they should have them. So I start with all the students go back. From there, it gets ugly. We've got a White House briefing that is coming. When it is there, I will bring it to you. Keep it right here. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. There it is. Welcome back, guys. Tony Katz Today. Good to be with you, waiting on the White House press briefing. And we were discussing that, we send the show out both in a mobile way and in a landscape way. And we've been experimenting with this. And some people are still confused. And I'm wondering, does this experiment work? Do I actually have to send out two different... I'm sending one stream out in two directions. Do I actually have to make them truly separate streams? That's what I think you're asking, Producer Landon, or at least that's what I think is coming from it. So I don't have a good answer right now. So what's interesting is that, the numbers are kind of fascinating, how it works mobily versus how it works in the other ways. But in all ways, it's growing thanks to you guys, and I do appreciate it. And the consistency certainly helps, and people recognizing that we're just funnier and hotter. That's right. I said hotter. I'm not lying. The people want to see you, Producer Landon. Right? But that would involve me putting a camera in your studio. And I don't know if the answer is letting you run the live stream over there. But I honestly don't know if you could do it all at once. Right. I don't think so. I don't think we're set up for that. What's weird is in the new studios, you might. So our main station, our home station, is moving buildings. Crazy, these new studios that they've built. And it's weird, radio studios that are built for real video connectivity. So maybe that'll bring about a change. What's really weird is everybody knows I have this home studio and this unique setup and everything else. And but because of the move, I think there's going to be a lot of connectivity issues. I may need to do the show from there for like a week. So I think that I'm at least prepared to. I'm at least prepared to. So we'll see. Let's get back to the show. There is a woman running for Congress in Nashville. And if you want one of the weirder things ever said, check this out right here.
I've been heavily involved with the Nashville mayoral race because I hate the city, I hate the bachelorettes, I hate the pedal taverns, I hate country music.
What? You find out this woman's name who hates everything. There's a picture of her that was put up, and she looks a little demonic in the picture, but could just be a bad photo. Did I say hello? Tony Katz. Hey, guys. How are you? Find everything at TonyKatz.com. And she hates everything Nashville?
I hate all of the things that make Nashville, apparently, an it city to the rest of the country, but I hate it. Yeah, I'm that girl at the airport that all these bachelorettes are giddy walking out in their two-toned colored Pantone pink shirts, and they walk out, and they're like, oh my God, Nashville is so bad! They're so loud.
Oh my. Who in the world runs for Congress by saying, I hate the place I want to represent? That's, I mean, that's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out. Very, very, very weird. But I don't think it's going to stop Democrats from voting for her. I would have no reason to think that it would. D after the name? All right, fine. As long as there's a D after the name, well, then that's where we vote. Also, you know about that horrific accident with a United Parcel Service, UPS. Well, they now have, this is nuts. If you're watching the live stream, check this out right here. They've got photos. I'm going to try and give a larger image there of the plane and the engine falling off, basically as it was, I think it was kind of taking off and then catching fire. They've got it numbered 1 through 6. Look at that. So the left engine on the left wing, as the plane is taking off, right? It nose is up, it's taking off. The left engine just starts going further up, cracks off, the flames come out. It is now in the air, on fire, and then the wing is on fire. Holy cow. The UPS crash was caused by fatigue cracks. Now, there's a larger scale story to this. That these planes are MD-11s. The MD-11 has not been used in passenger flight for, I think, 2 decades. If I understand it right, this is not a plane utilized by UPS. This is a plane that was on its way to Hawaii. That plane had 92,000 flight hours on it. Let me say that number again. 92,000 flight hours. It was on a continuous maintenance program, and the last visual inspection was done October of 2021. everything about this crash, 13 people were killed. I'm sorry. 14 people were killed. 3 of the crew, 11 on the ground, 23 injured. And you start really saying to yourself exactly how much of this could have been prevented. There's clearly the lifespan you want to get out of anything, whether it's a plane, whether it's a car, whether it's your toaster. There's a lifespan that you want to get out of it. And then there's a moment where you realize that it's going to cause a problem. We have to take a look at when those moments are. This is the White House briefing right now. There is Karoline Leavitt, and she is up there with Linda McMahon from the Department of Education. I'm going to get to that and let me get it to you right now as quickly as I possibly can. The audio is a little problematic right now, but I'm going to do what I can to bring that to you and bring this
119,000 new jobs added.
It's not me,
more than
Chris
double
Landon.
expectations.
I don't think they're having
These
a
gains
real
came after
issue.
the summer passage of President Trump's
With the audio, right?
historic
That's super
tax
low,
cuts
right?
and multiple big
Yeah,
trade
let me
deals
see what
with countries around the world.
I'm a man.
In particular, construction jobs surged
Right
by
there. I
19,000
will
in
get that.
September.
I will get that fixed immediately, if not sooner. But to have the Department of Education out there, certainly a question of what is it that you're trying to get done? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? Are we now going to be getting into the conversation of, hey, we're done with the Department of Education. We have to make changes here. So this is, let me bring this to you here. This is Karoline Leavitt.
We know that Americans are still hurting from the 4-decade high inflation caused by progress to fix this, and he will not stop working until he solves it. As the president recently stated, he is never satisfied. For example, President Trump's policies are working to make Americans' Thanksgiving more affordable this year, from their commute to the dinner table. Nearly 100 million Americans are expected to drive next week to spend time with loved ones for the holiday. And thanks to President Trump's drill baby drill agenda, the national average price of a gallon of gas on Thanksgiving Day is projected to be at the cheapest price since the COVID pandemic in 2021. President Trump is bringing down gas prices and providing significant savings to American families at the pump. And again, we expect those prices to continue to decline. According to the American Farm Bureau Federation's annual survey, cooking Thanksgiving dinner will also cost less this year than it did last year and is down about 5% overall. The average price for a staple of the meal, a 16-pound frozen turkey, is down more than 16% from last year, which will provide critical savings for families in their budgets. President Trump's entire economic agenda is aimed at putting more money back into the pockets of hardworking Americans.
I don't say no, but you win with the conversation about gas prices and no one buys into the grocery prices. And Karoline Leavitt shouldn't be engaged in the grocery prices conversation. It's a loser right now.
According to a new study from Piper Sandler, which is out this week, tax filers can expect an extra $1,000 bump to their tax refund next year and what could be a record-breaking tax refund season. So there is more good news to come. We know these refunds will make a huge difference for Americans to help pay down their bills and use towards life's expenses. In other news this week, President Trump took a significant step toward delivering on a core campaign promise to finally close the Department of Education. To shrink the bloated federal bureaucracy, the Department of Education just entered into new interagency agreements with 4 agencies, the Departments of Labor, Interior, Health and Human Services, and State. These agencies will now ensure the delivery of legally required programs while also refocusing them to better serve students.
This I like.
This common sense action brings the Trump administration much closer to finally returning education where it belongs,
Now we know
at
why
the
Linda
state
McMahon-
and local level, not in Washington, D.C. The Democrats' reckless 43-day government shutdown did manage to do one valuable thing. It proved that America does not need a federal Department of Education. During the longest shutdown in history, the Department of Education furloughed 90% of its staff, and America's education system was not impacted whatsoever. Schools stayed fully open across the country. Students attended class and received normal in-person instruction, and our wonderful teachers received their paychecks uninterrupted. The Democrats' government shutdown made it painfully obvious that American families do not need the Department of Education. Since its creation in 1979 during the Carter administration, the Department of Ed has spent over $3 trillion taxpayer dollars without improving student achievement. Despite pure pupil spending having increased by more than 245% since the 1970s, math and reading scores are down in public schools. In fact, the most recent Nation's Report Card from 2024 showed that 13-year-olds' math scores are the lowest they've been in decades, and their reading scores are the lowest since testing began,
which we
more
brought
than
up.
30 years ago. It's clear
This
that
education
throwing
system
more
ain't
money
working.
at a broken system
I'm
does
in
not
favor
work.
of getting
And
rid of
that's
the
why
Department of
President
Education.
Trump,
I'm in favor of
appointed the
education. Keep it
amazing
here.
leader behind
This is
the
Tony
National
Katz today,
Secretary
live
of
streaming on
State,
YouTube.
Linda
Come check us
McMahon,
out.
who is making these monumental changes at the direction
like
of the
this,
president.
guys.
We're very grateful
All right?
to have you here today to talk about these changes
Try
and
to
then
make the move.
take some questions. Hopefully, folks in this room will have some questions on the very important topic of education. So please, Mrs. Secretary.
Thank you. Thank you much, Caroline. It's really a pleasure to be here with you today, and thank all of you for being here as well. My purpose here is to speak directly to the American families, not just you, but to the American families, about the work this administration is doing in education to reverse our national decline with a hard reset of our educational system. That reset was a top campaign promise from President Trump to send education back to the states and end Washington's micromanagement of education once and for all. This week, we took the most decisive steps thus far to make good on this promise to you. We have linked 6 groundbreaking partnerships with other federal agencies to delegate education department programs that are redundant with existing programs at Labor, State, Interior, and HHS. These interagency agreements to cut our own bureaucratic bloat are a key step in our effort that we are defunding education, harming students, or acting without a plan. This could not be further from the truth. The majority of Americans across the country handed to President Trump the popular vote precisely because they have seen the brokenness of a top-down education system run by the federal government. They're painfully aware that only 3 out of 10 students can read proficiently at their grade level. They know that college students are collectively $1.7 trillion in debt, and less than half of college graduates get a job that actually uses the degree which they studied so hard to get. They see more teachers than ever before leaving the profession due to burnout, over-regulation, and lack of autonomy in the classroom. Anti-Trump voices are stirring up fear that returning education to the states is a draconian action. When Americans hear that we are shutting down the department, but given no other details, 51% oppose it. But when those same Americans are informed of our plans to preserve important elements of our work in other federal agencies and to maintain the K-12 funding that is distributed to the states, that number flips to an even greater majority at 56%. And they support returning education to the states and breaking up the bureaucracy. That's because the Department of Education is a pass-through entity. It doesn't educate a single student. The money it sends to states for education can be sent directly without waste. The Democrats' government shutdown proved that without a doubt, and I'll reiterate what you said, that the Department of Education was not necessary during the shutdown.
Fantastic.
Now, this is what I've seen already on my 50-state tour that I've embarked on. Educators are innovating in their schools. States are customizing their budgets and standards, and post-secondary institutions are planning for the economy of the future. But we're not leading them. They are informing us. That's why our final mission as a department is to fully empower states to carry the torch of our educational renaissance. Education is local. It should be overseen locally by those who best know local needs. We're not ending federal support for education. We are ending federal micromanagement and paving the way for education renewal through state reforms like school choice, the science of reading, and restoring the right priorities in higher education. President Trump promised to send education back to the states, and we're keeping that promise. America's next generation will look back on the work we've carried out, thankful for an education system that prioritizes students over bureaucracy. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Secretary. And we'll take some questions for the Secretary if you have them. Elizabeth, why don't you start?
Thank you for joining us. You announced the partnership to move some functions of the Education Department to other agencies. Are you talking to members of Congress about codifying this so that it lasts beyond the administration?
Yes, we started our conversation, and thanks very much for asking that, because there have been some reports that Congress is in the dark on this. That's clearly not true. We've been talking to, I've talked to dozens of members of Congress to explain to them exactly what we're doing, to bring them up to speed, and to say to them, look, when we have completed some of these transfers that are working incredibly well, then we will be looking to Congress to codify those.
That is Linda McMahon, the Secretary of Education, announcing that the shutdown proved that the Department of Education is not necessary. Teachers still got paid. Everything went on as it is. What in the world is the Department of Education for? To distribute money that we could distribute to the American people and to schools through other services and other institutions? We're going to do just that. The move to end the Department of Education, which only started in existence in 1979, is on. Tony Katz today, good to be with you. And before we say another word, this is what I voted for. Absolutely a great and welcome move. This is the press briefing. Karoline Leavitt, the press secretary, but Linda McMahon is answering the questions. This is the Secretary of Education. Let's go back to her.
I do think AI is going to need guardrails, but I have witnessed AI firsthand. I was at the Alpha School in Austin, Texas, and the first 2 hours of every day in that school, students are learning through AI. They have their headsets on, they're in front of their screens, and the AI is really acting as like an individual tutor for those students, allowing those students that can progress faster to do that. Those who need a little catch up, it refeeds information to them. And so after those 2 hours of learning, the basics of what they're doing in their curriculum that day, then they spend the rest of the day, they have good recess and all of that time, but then they spend the rest of the day in what are called life skills, and they're actually using the information that they've learned this morning. So I've seen some AI in action that is really proving quite beneficial.
Michael.
Thank you, Caroline. Secretary McMahon, as the Education Department continues to pare down, can you talk about taxpayer services like charter school grants and how the department will continue to assist kids with special needs?
Well, we are going to make sure that there's no interruption in getting that grant money out the door. That money is it comes from Congress. It's appropriated by Congress, and we legally are obligated to do that. And the transitions we're starting to make, our first programs that went over to the Department of Labor, that was a few weeks ago. We actually signed the first interagency agreement, which we accomplished under the authority of the Economy Act. We transferred grants for WIOA and for the Perkins Act. And the really good news is that the Department of Labor has a much more sophisticated system, technology system and grant fulfilling system than the Department of Education does. As a matter of fact, our executive manager that went over with that group over to Labor said he would compare what the labor system is to education's like held together by bubble gum that is not connected to any other part. So we were able to get those grants out the door more smoothly, and states have actually better access for those systems than they do at the Department of Education. So that's a real bonus.
Take a couple more. Carrie, go ahead.
As far as the diversity, equity, and inclusion new regulations that came out,
I'm going to get to it, but understand what Linda McMahon was saying there. any thought that somehow we're not going to be able to do our job because we don't have a department is not true. The other departments do it more efficiently. They're being proactive in their arguments.
There's been a new report from the administration saying that half of medical schools are defying the administration when it comes to DEI policies. What type of action will the administration take for these schools that are defying the new DEI policies?
Well, certainly the president has been very clear, and the Department of Education has taken measures to make sure that as schools are developing, their policies, or if they have open DEI offices, they're closed, or DEI regulations and rules are stripped, from their programs, and so that will continue.
Great. We'll take one more.
Did I mention I like
Thank
this?
you, Karoline. Secretary McMahon, my question is, since you said 3 out of 10 students are literate with regard to their reading capacity, would now the states help to improve those numbers since you have gone back to the states?
Well, what we are finding that the states that are making great progress, it's through their own innovation. It's not coming from the Department of Education.
Correct.
I think the Department of Education is really misunderstood about what our function is. We don't teach one student. We have nothing to do with the curriculum that are in any states. We are a pass-through pathway from money that's appropriated by Congress to get to the states. But what we have seen in those states that have taken that initiative, and they are embracing the science of reading and returning that into their school programs. Louisiana has done it. Mississippi, they call it the Mississippi Miracle, because they were like, I think, bottom or next to last in reading proficiency in Mississippi. And now they're like middle of the pack, which has been a really big jump. Florida has, Iowa has, Tennessee. So, but these are innovations that are done at the state level. This is not anything we're dictating, and that's why I'm saying returning education to the states where they really are already leading in their education.
It's not even a question of returning education to the states. It's about telling the states you're no longer held hostage by the federal government in this Department of Education. That's the argument, and that's a winner. You, the parents, have more control. You, the municipality, have more control, and therefore the voter has more control. You are not beholden to the federal government, not beholden to the whims of a Congress. You decide. Man, what could be more empowering than that? Oh, I like all of this. Good stuff going on right here. Oh, that's Linda McMahon finishing up the question. Will then go to Karoline Leavitt. She's going to have, I think, she might have some more statements. She might just start taking questions from the press assembled. Let's take it back to the end of this from Linda McMahon.
Done about 14 states. We've shut down a little bit during the shutdown. But what I am doing is visiting different kinds of schools, grammar schools, middle schools, high schools, micro schools, private schools, charter schools, the whole gambit. And in the end, my goal will be, as we step away and fully deliver education back to the states, is to provide them with a best practices toolkit of all of the things that I have seen around the country to say, hey, this is working. Check with these superintendents, check with these governors. And you know what I found a little bit is governors are a little competitive. So it's kind of nice to give some of these best practices out there. It'll work because it's already working. If we leave it with the people who are closest to the students, the president believes, as do I, the best education is that's closest to the child, and parents' involvement is critical to the success.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you so much. I appreciate your
All
comments
right.
today. Thanks for your great work. And
Thank
she's
you all very much.
a busy lady, so we'll let her get back to work.
Who isn't a busy lady? I'm
Thank
a
you
busy
again.
lady, Caroline.
Well,
What?
let's get to it.
Good identifier.
You guys were so calm with her. I wish you were that calm with me. We'll kick off with our new media seat, as always. Javier, why don't you start us off, and then we'll get to the rest of the room. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Javier Negre. I'm from Spain. I'm the owner of the biggest media platform in Hispanic politics.
So they're into the new media seat right now, and the person asking the question runs a Spanish media platform, and I'm not too familiar with it. I cannot tell you how good this is to see that we see this maneuvering to end what is unnecessary. Let's go back to something we stated earlier. Does the institution exist to better the citizenry, or does the institution exist for the sake of the institution's existence? And what you just heard Linda McMahon say is that it is clear that the Department of Education existed so we could say we have a Department of Education. Not because it did better for the student or the parent or the town or society. So what's its point? What's its value? Having it? Nah, that's not a value. And that's what makes this so good. And I'll say it again. This is exactly what I voted for. I like this move. We'll get back to the press briefing in just a bit. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. So we went to commercial break there for the radio. We'll come back to this. Because of the setup, it was a little hard to understand his question, so I wanted to give it a chance to be done here. Let's take it back to Karoline Leavitt with an answer about certainly new media and media in general, and then to the press corps there for their questions.
And her administration in Mexico when it comes to cracking down on the cartels. They have been incredibly cooperative with the president's efforts at our southern border to crack down on illegal immigration and also the illegal trafficking of drugs at the southern border. Now the president is very interested in taking additional measures against the drug cartels. He's been very clear about that. He's spoken about it, and this is a promise that he made to the American public. And so his national security team is discussing these options all of the time. And on the campaign trail, the president promised to take on the cartels. He has taken unprecedented action to do so, and he has left additional options at his disposal on the table. So those are only decisions that the president can make. Thank you.
What about the silence of the legacy media about the murders of journalists in Mexico? 150 journalists have been killed in the past years.
Yeah, well, it's something I wish the media would report on more, and it's something that this administration absolutely condemns. I can't speak for the media, but I can speak for the president. That's not something he wants to see. Thank you. Sure.
Thank you, Karoline. Is there anything that Mayor-elect Mamdani could say tomorrow that would ease the president's concerns about his future leadership in the
What is going on?
Look, I don't want to speak for the president or get ahead of this meeting that we are working on tomorrow. As you saw, the president put out a statement tomorrow that the mayor-elect will be coming to the Oval Office, and so our teams are arranging those details. I won't get into the president's thinking on it. I think you'll all hear from him directly. I also think I will just add, it speaks volumes that tomorrow we have a communist coming to the White House because that's who the Democrat Party elected as the mayor of the largest city in the country. I think it's very telling, but I also think it speaks to the fact that President Trump is willing to meet with anyone and talk to anyone and to try to do what's right on behalf of the American people, whether they live in blue states or red states or blue cities, in a city that's becoming much more left than I think this president ever anticipated in his many years of living in New York himself. Nancy.
Thanks, Karoline. This morning, President Trump accused 6 Democratic lawmakers of seditious behavior punishable by death. Just to be clear, does the president want to execute members of Congress?
No. Let's be clear about what the president is responding to, because many in this room want to talk about the president's response, but not what brought the president to responding in this way. You have sitting members of the United States Congress who conspired together to orchestrate a video message to members of the United States military, to active duty service members, to members of the national security apparatus, encouraging them to defy the president's lawful orders. The sanctity of our military rests on the chain of command. And if that chain of command is broken, it can lead to people getting killed. It can lead to chaos. And that's what these members of Congress who swore an oath to abide by the Constitution are essentially encouraging. We have 1.3 active duty service members in this country. And if they hear this radical message from sitting members of Congress, that could inspire chaos and it could incite violence and it certainly could disrupt the chain of command. These 3 members of Congress, I will also add, knew exactly what they were doing. You look at Alyssa Slotkin. She's a former member of the CIA. Mark Kelly was a captain in the U.S. Navy. Maggie Goodlander was a naval officer, and notably, she is also the wife of Joe Biden's national security former advisor, Jake Sullivan. And so these members knew what they were doing. They were leading into their credentials as former members of our military, as veterans, as former members of the national security apparatus to signal to people serving under this commander-in-chief, Donald Trump, that you can defy him and you can betray your oath of office. That is a very, very dangerous message, and it perhaps is punishable by law. I'm not a lawyer. I'll leave that to the Department of Justice and the Department of War to decide.
But the president has
Chris,
frequently, but Caroline, can I just follow up? The president and the vice president, for that matter, have accused
All right, let's
the
go back to
other
the show.
side of encouraging political violence. Isn't that exactly what the president is doing
Come
when
back
he
to it.
says that
Not-
members of Congress?
Sorry about the audio in and out.
Why aren't you about what these members of Congress are doing to encourage and incite violence? They are literally saying to 1.3 million active duty service members not to defy the chain of command, not to follow lawful orders. Every single
can refuse an illegal order, which
but
is
they
in
are,
there from
but they're
military
suggesting, Nancy, that the president has given illegal orders, which he has not. Every single order that is given to this United States military by this commander-in-chief and through this chain of command, through the Secretary of War, is lawful, and the courts have proven that. This administration has an unparalleled record at the Supreme Court because we are following the laws. We don't defy court orders. We do things by the books. And to suggest and encourage that active duty service members defy the chain of command is a very dangerous thing for sitting members of Congress to do. And they should be held accountable. And that's what the president wants to see.
Now, this has to do with President Trump putting out a post today saying this is seditious and punishable by death. And people are like, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. Why is he threatening Democratic members? Tony Katz today. Senator Slotkin of Michigan, Alyssa Slotkin is her name. Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona, Congressman Jason Crow. They put out a video saying, you don't have to follow illegal orders, military members. You, intelligence community, you don't have to follow illegal orders. You shouldn't be following illegal orders. There are no illegal orders. This was a push from sitting members of Congress to defy the president of the United States, defy the commander-in-chief, Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. And so the president put this out, and people are like, why are you threatening members of Congress? How dare you? And Hakeem Jeffries is putting out stuff. It was specific to a subject. I don't think I specifically like the post from President Trump, but let's bring light to the fact that this is what these Democrats did. They called for the usurpation of the duly elected president of the United States. What they did is treasonous. It's for the military not to in any way, shape, or form support the commander-in-chief. Man, there's a place in hell for you if you do that. 10,000%. You've got a serious issue if you go about making that kind of claim. We have to deal with that. You can't let these people off the hook for that. Let's go back to the presser.
If that is true, and then also explain the shift.
What the audio is.
I'd be happy to explain because
The answer should come
the
out.
United
It's
States is
figure it
not
out.
participating in official talks at the G20 in South Africa. I saw the South African president running his mouth a little bit against the United States and the president of the United States earlier today, and that language is not appreciated by the president or his team. The ambassador or the representative of the embassy in South Africa is simply there to recognize that the United States will be the host of the G20. They are receiving that send-off at the end of the event. They are not there to participate in official talks, despite what the South African president is falsely claiming.
On Ukraine, there have been reports that
They're having
President
these
Zelensky
audio
said,
issues. Let me tell you what's going on
you know,
with
he's-
South Africa. What's going on with South Africa is that there's clearly a move on to the extent sanctioned that it's okay to kill white farmers. That the response to apartheid in today's world is kill them. That's the argument. And when the South African leadership was in the Oval, the president played videos, say, hey, here's the unmarked graves, here's this, here's that. What are you doing? What exactly are you doing over here? To which they had no response and no answer. massive rallies with tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people singing, "Kill the Boer, kill the white farmer." So no, with the G20 is happening, and then it's going to be moving on and handed off to South Africa, which I think is the conversation here. That doesn't mean you get to be a part of it and you're not welcome. You are a problem and you have to be dealt with. Look at what it is that you're supporting. You shouldn't be in favor of that. Just like we shouldn't be in favor of the assault and the murder, the systematic murder, the genocidal murder of Christians in Nigeria. And you heard President Trump talking about taking a more active role in what's going on with Sudan. There's Southern Sudan, there's a civil war there, there's the instances of Islamists group and others. So there's paying attention to the continent of Africa is good. It has been ignored long enough. Do we want to say, oh, poor Africa? Or do we want to say there's an opportunity for Africa and African nations? Let's go help create a better society all the way around. Back to the
You said this is a good plan.
with all of it audio. You'll be able to hear the answers from Karoline Leavitt. As I said, there's
Have you read the full plan? You haven't.
Yes. So if you can give details.
You've read reporting from one side of the war. And so I want you to understand that the administration has talked equally with both sides. You have seen President Trump engage directly with both President Putin and President Zelensky. Likewise, his national security team has as well. In fact, Special Envoy Witkoff and Secretary Rubio met with some of the Ukrainians just in the past week to discuss this very plan. And so just like you saw with respect to Israel and Gaza, we are hearing out both sides of this war to understand what can you commit to end the war. And that's
This is about a report that there's a move on to get Zelensky to give up land, which I think was the original strategy. Will Zelensky give up land in Donetsk, Luhansk, and Zaporizhia, those eastern areas? What can be done to end this? Because Trump really wants an end to this. Keep it here. This is Tony Katz Today. And he wants the end to this because this is what he promised. He did not think it would take this long. He did not think that Putin would be this obstinate. There's just no way he thought this would be the case. Not at all. Not in any way, shape, or form. But it is. But it is. So he's trying other maneuvers and other machinations to get this accomplished, to be able to check it off the list. The first rule of Trumpism is Trump wins. The second rule of Trumpism is that a deal can always be made as long as it adheres to the first rule of Trumpism. So the deal is trying to be made. And yes, the president said he would end it on day one. He did not. He did not. You are absolutely right about that. Absolutely correct. Everything else you've been putting in the comments just, well, silly talking point nonsense. But when you say you're going to end the war on day one, you don't. You should expect people to say you didn't end the war on day one. I mean, that's just standard operating procedure right there. Guys, I appreciate you so very much. Can't thank you enough for being here, being a part of the show. Thanks also for dealing with the weird bit of technical issue that took place in the last 10 minutes. I'm not sure what happened, but that's where it is. Facts. You're cute. You're really cute. I'm glad you're here. You should keep being a part of the show. You will be very enjoyable. Here's wrong. Here's what's wrong, and here's why. Thank you. Thank you for that. Guys, you are appreciated more than you know. I am back tomorrow. I think I'm back tomorrow. Yeah, at noon. Be here. Don't forget to subscribe. Can't thank you enough. I will catch you then, everybody. All right? Be good. Don't forget to subscribe. YouTube.com/Tony Katz. Take care.